Everyone pictures the same fantasy. Buy some land, build a shiny showroom, park a few hundred cars out front, and watch the cash roll in. Richest guy in town, drives whatever he wants, retires at 50. Almost none of that matches how the business actually works. America's roughly 17,000 franchise new car dealers move more than 16 million vehicles a year, generating over $1.3 trillion in sales, plus another $164 billion from service work. Huge numbers. And yet the average dealership keeps only 1 to 2.5% of that as profit. Sell a $10,000 car and, after every cost, you might clear a couple $100. So how does an industry with margins that thin mint some of the wealthiest people in every American town? The answer has almost nothing to do with the cars themselves. Part 1. 3 different businesses, one sign out front. A mainstream franchise, Ford, Toyota, Chevrolet runs on volume, thin margins per car, but national advertising and subsidized financing from the manufacturer. In return, the manufacturer dictates your facility design, forces renovations, and controls what inventory you receive. A luxury franchise flips this. Fewer cars, fatter margins per sale, and buyers who barely flinch during a downturn. The catch is the buy-in luxury standard buildings cost far more to construct. An independent used lot has no manufacturer looking over your shoulder, but also no warranty service department, a huge profit center, more below, and worse financing terms. Independents average around $1,500 profit per car versus roughly $2,000 for franchise dealers. Part 2. The price of admission. Opening a franchise dealership typically costs $5 to $10 million before you've made a dime. That includes a franchise fee, as low as $30,000 or past $500,000 for a premium import brand, 4 to 8 acres of land, a building running $120, $450 per square foot depending on construction style, and $500,000 to $1 million in required liquid capital plus a net worth in the millions, non-negotiable minimums set by the manufacturer. Add licensing, legal, and software costs, and you're deep into 7 figures before a single car hits the lot. Part 3. Inventory isn't yours to choose. New car dealers don't order what they want. Manufacturers allocate inventory through a system that rewards fast-selling dealers with better cars and starves slower ones, holding back 10 to 15% of production purely at their own discretion. Used inventory comes from trade-ins and wholesale auctions, where cars can sell in under a minute, plus buyer premiums and transport fees that eat into margin before the car even reaches the lot. Almost none of this is paid in cash. Dealers use floor plan financing, a revolving credit line covering most of a vehicle's cost until it sells. But every unsold day costs money, $40, $85 per car per day in interest, insurance, and depreciation. Let inventory sit past 90 to 120 days and lenders often force principal payments on cars that haven't sold yet, pushing dealers into fire sale pricing just to escape the penalty. Part 4. Where the real money actually hides. The front-end margin, profit on the car itself, has been shrinking for years as online pricing tools erode markups. Average new car profit recently dropped to around $2,247 per unit. The real profit lives in the finance office, which generates close to 37% of a dealership's gross profit. Dealers mark up the wholesale loan rate a bank offers them and pocket the spread. Extended warranties and add-on protection products wholesale cost around $1,000, often resell $4 $500, $500, attached to as many as 84% of deals at well-run stores. Some owners take this further, routing warranty premiums into their own offshore reinsurance entities, letting underwriting profit compound largely outside standard taxation. Even bigger than finance is the service department. It brings in only 10 to 15% of total revenue, but generates roughly half of total gross profit, thanks to 45 to 50% margins on labor and parts. Dealers track a metric called the service absorption rate, the share of fixed overhead covered by service profit alone. Once that hits 100%, Every car sold afterward is nearly pure profit, since the building's costs are already paid for. Most dealerships only reach 64 to 69%. The ones clearing 100% get rich regardless of how car sales are doing. Technicians are paid flat rate, a fixed number of hours per job regardless of actual time spent, so a fast mechanic can effectively bill far more than a 40-hour week, while slower apprentices struggle. Part 5. Running the machine. Salespeople work on commission, but the dealership schemes an internal fee off the profit before commission is even calculated. Every dealership also pays steep monthly fees for its management software, since the market is dominated by a couple of legacy providers with little competitive pressure. Even the sticker price is a setup. The invoice price dealers show buyers is quietly inflated 1 to 3%, and after the sale, manufacturers refund that amount back to the dealer as holdback, guaranteed profit the buyer never sees on paper. Add a negotiating tool called the Foursquare, which splits trade-in, price, down payment, and monthly payment into separate boxes, so buyers rarely optimize more than one number at a time, usually the monthly payment, while loan terms quietly stretch to protect dealer margin. Part 6. The risk underneath it all. This business is leveraged from top to bottom. Rising interest rates raise the cost of financed inventory at the same time they slow down buyers, a squeeze from both directions. Manufacturers can also upend a dealer's business overnight, as Ford did when it required costly EV charging investments from dealers in 2022, only to drop the mandate later after lawsuits and weak demand, leaving dealers who'd already spent the money with nothing to show for it. Add constant regulatory exposure around lending practices and warranty disclosures, and this is anything but a passive business. Experienced owners protect themselves by building multi-store groups, sharing accounting, HR, and negotiating leverage across locations, spreading risk across brands, and feeding a much larger reinsurance pool that can eventually generate more wealth than the showrooms themselves. A typical franchise dealership pulls in roughly $60 million in annual sales and nets 2 to 2.5% of that as profit. The owner's official salary often looks ordinary, around $112,000, $177,000 a year. But layers in dealership distributions, rental income from land the owner leases back to their own store, and dividends from an offshore reinsurance arm, and total compensation for a successful owner reaches well into 6 or 7 figures. This isn't passive income, and it isn't for anyone without serious capital. It demands leverage, regulatory navigation, and total dependence on manufacturers who owe you nothing. But for those who make it through, it's one of the most resilient models in the economy, because when new car sales freeze, service keeps the business breathing, and when front-end margins shrink, the finance office and the holdback checks quietly cover the gap. The car was never really the product. It was the entry point into a machine built to extract profit at every stage of its life.